In the opening scene, Natasha Kampush finds herself skiing down a mountain, lost in her thoughts. Initially appearing alone, she comes to a stop at the slope's bottom, only to be confronted by a passing group of skiers, revealing she's not truly alone. A man senses her silent distress, and their eyes connect. Understanding her unspoken plea, he leads her to the bathroom, cautiously checking for other occupants. Believing the coast is clear, he allows Natasha inside a stall. However, her momentary privacy is disrupted when she hears another woman, unseen by the man earlier. Hastily dressing, Natasha cautiously follows the woman to the sinks, ensuring the man isn't watching. She discloses her name, Natasha Kompoosh, and seeks help. In a poignant flashback, a younger Natasha dances with her intoxicated father at a bar. The night unfolds, revealing Natasha wandering alone outside, concerned about her father's disregard for time. The next day, her mother scolds her, insisting she wear a dress she made. Their strained relationship becomes apparent as Natasha objects to the garment, feeling it makes her look fat. Her mother callously suggests avoiding biscuits, highlighting their lack of empathy. Natasha reluctantly dons the dress, and her mother hurries her, threatening consequences if her father is late again. When Natasha protests, her mother slaps her. Silent and stunned, Natasha leaves for school. As she walks alone, Natasha encounters a traumatic event. Ignored by playing kids, she passes a man who forces her into a white van, screaming for help. The horrifying incident unfolds, leaving another girl across the street in shock at the tragedy she witnessed. The man escorts Natasha to his secured residence, leading her to a confined room with just a sink and a toilet. After locking the room behind him, he crawls through a hole in the wall, where he proceeds to harm her before sealing the wall and the apparent basement it encloses. Awakening in confusion, Natasha attempts to call for help, but her pleas echo unanswered. Desperate, she gazes at a small vent in the room, her only source of air. The man returns with a mattress, food, and water, but when she expresses the desire to see her mom, he disregards her and seals the door shut. Natasha continues to scream for help through the vent, unheard by anyone. As night falls on the third day, Natasha prepares for bed in the darkness, reaching out for her mom. Meanwhile, the man, Wolfgang, seemingly indifferent to his heinous actions, contemplates his deeds. He proceeds with his day, reading a bedtime story to Natasha about the princess and the pea. Seated in her corner, eating cookies, she listens intently. When the story concludes, he plugs in a nightlight, intending to leave, but Natasha stops him. Requesting a goodnight kiss reminiscent of her mother's, he hesitates for a moment before obliging. Elsewhere, Natasha's mother and grandmother, gripped by anxiety, watch the news reporting their missing child. The reporter suggests Natasha's mother has lost hope, a claim she vehemently protests. Together, they anxiously await any word about their lost little girl. In the basement, Natasha paces endlessly, grappling with boredom. Losing track of time, she wonders about the day before the lights go out, signaling bedtime. Meanwhile, in Wolfgang's kitchen, his mother lists off supplies, attempting to suggest meal ideas. However, Wolfgang, in a joking manner, doesn't seem to take the conversation seriously. Later that night, Wolfgang and his mother watch the news together, the broadcast focusing on Natasha's disappearance on her route to school. Wolfgang's mother callously suggests that Natasha is likely being abused, to which Wolfgang counters, suggesting the kidnapper might just be crazy. On another day, Wolfgang is shampooing Natasha's hair when she hands him a letter from her parents. An argument ensues over the amount of shampoo used, escalating to Wolfgang cruelly dunking her head in water, unable to tolerate tears. He abruptly leaves the room, leaving Natasha wet and crying to clean up the mess on her own. One evening, Wolfgang enjoys drinks in the garden with his mother and grandmother when the police arrive, requesting to see his van. Despite his initial compliance, Wolfgang is visibly uneasy. The police inquire about the missing girl, having checked numerous white vans without success. Wolfgang's van, now filled with tools, raises suspicions. Claiming a previous career in telecommunications, he engages in small talk with the officers as one discreetly investigates the secret basement holding Natasha. Questioned about his whereabouts on Natasha's disappearance date, Wolfgang insists he was home alone, deflecting with offers of beverages. Despite evasive answers, the police continue pressing him, declining his hospitality and asserting their need to leave. Meanwhile, Natasha dreams of happier times with her parents, dressing up as they lovingly laughed and took pictures of her. The reverie is shattered as Wolfgang wakes her with breakfast. Yearning for a sense of time, Natasha requests a clock from Wolfgang, who agrees and installs an intercom for communication while he's upstairs. During this time, she inquires about the letter she gave him, questioning if he sent it as she requested. Wolfgang lies, assuring her that he did, but later, he callously tears up the letter. On day 183, driven by boredom, Natasha pretends her old clothes are students, draws on the walls, and conducts imaginary interviews. Wolfgang interrupts through the intercom, asking if she brushed her teeth and cleaned her plate. Lying, she claims she did, but he insists she obeys him, repeating the words, "Obey me," on the intercom. Later, attempting to trick him with a fake injury, Wolfgang sees through it, berating her and commenting on her weight. When she attempts to fight back, he reveals the vent leads to the roof, dismissing any hope of rescue, and shows her a vault door, emphasizing there's no escape. An unsuccessful attempt to flee crushes her hopes. Resigned to her fate, Natasha spends her days reading to makeshift dolls. After 4 days without food, she pleads with Wolfgang, trying to be cute, but he responds only with, "Obey me," over the intercom. 4 years pass, and Wolfgang continues his ritual. Natasha, malnourished and desperate, begs for food after 3 days of starvation. Ignoring her pleas, Wolfgang leaves her hungry and distracted, digging through the trash to alleviate her hunger. Her room, now more crowded with a bunk bed, small heater, and table, reflects the dwindling space in her confined world. On day 1695, Bibi is engrossed in a book when her period begins, a mundane event that triggers an unsettling response from Wolfgang. Tasked with sewing his clothes, she faces his disgust when he discovers her menstrual cycle. Ordered to clean up, Bibi, lacking resources, convinces Wolfgang to let her use the shower upstairs. Emerging for the first time, she marvels at the sunlight, but Wolfgang warns against any attempts to escape, citing explosives lining the windows and doors. Overwhelmed by the newfound sight, Bibi reluctantly promises compliance. During one of Wolfgang's mother's visits, she unknowingly stirs confusion about Wolfgang's relationships. While Wolfgang agrees to do the dishes, his mother, suspiciously, questions his romantic involvement. Later, he takes Bibi upstairs, subjecting her to a heartbreaking moment as he shaves her head, followed by an unusual hangout in the kitchen. Fast forward to day 1837, it's Christmas in the confined space, adorned with makeshift decorations and a radio. Bibi wraps a present, embracing a semblance of normalcy. Wolfgang surprises her with food, a camera, and a Walkman with books. Despite her attempt at a hug, Wolfgang protests, emphasizing boundaries during the holidays. Curious about her family, Bibi's inquiry upsets Wolfgang, leading him to claim her as family, renaming her Bibi, and introducing himself. Amidst the holiday season, Natasha's mother and grandmother spend time together, contemplating a Christmas gift, a pink sweater, for Natasha. The air is heavy with emotions as Natasha's mother breaks down in tears, haunted by the memories of the day Natasha was kidnapped. Meanwhile, Natasha, now known as Bibi, and Wolfgang engage in construction on his house, tearing down a wall for a new room. When Bibi innocently suggests the room might be for Wolfgang's girlfriend, he reacts with anger, hitting a bag of cement and covering her in dust. Unperturbed, Bibi remains undeterred, and Wolfgang declares that she will be sleeping with him that night. As time progresses, Wolfgang grows seemingly more comfortable with Bibi. He begins buying her items like tampons and condoms for himself. However, the twisted nature of their relationship becomes apparent when Wolfgang's discomfort at a club leads to a violent encounter. After taking advantage of Bibi, Wolfgang allows her a brief respite in the garden before forcing her back into her room, frustrated with himself. Fast forward to day 2029, and the dynamics have grown increasingly sinister. Bibi, now with grown-out hair, is subjected to Wolfgang's demands, including chores and cooking. His dissatisfaction results in physical abuse, denying her food. Desperate, Bibi attempts to eat, but Wolfgang cruelly intervenes, forcing her to spit it out. Wolfgang's sadistic behavior escalates, including locking her in a dark hole and playing disturbing mind games. In a rare outing for errands, Wolfgang manipulates Bibi with a false claim of having a gun, exposing her to the world while keeping her captive, as she watches people living oblivious to her plight. During a store visit, there's a fleeting moment when Wolfgang leaves Bibi alone, yet the haunting words, "Obey me," resound in her head, preventing her from seeking help. On day 2175, the room they've been working on is completed, and despite Bibi doing most of the work, she feigns surprise when Wolfgang reveals it. His mother also approves, leading to a celebratory drink at his new garden bar. Back in her room, Bibi listens to the radio, learning it's been 6 years since her disappearance. Wolfgang introduces her to the completed room, now dubbed the Aphrodite Suite, and compels her to wear lingerie, claiming it's their wedding day. Questioning why he chose her, Wolfgang recounts an unsettling moment from her childhood and describes how he meticulously built the secret room for her. The situation takes a darker turn as he becomes intimate with her. Later, in a desperate attempt to escape her torment, Bibi starts a fire in her room, hoping for a way out. Struggling with the smoke, she abandons the plan and tries to conceal the evidence, but Wolfgang discovers the attempt. In a fit of anger, he beats her, declaring she's not allowed to end her own life. Bibi defiantly responds that if she's not permitted to leave, then one of them must die. In a harrowing act of self-preservation, Bibi chronicles Wolfgang's abuse of scraps of toilet paper, preserving the painful memories in a hidden box. The narrative shifts to the movie's opening scene, where Wolfgang attempts to teach her to ski. Struggling with weakened legs, she seeks help from a passerby, but the language barrier leaves her plea unanswered. Later, when questioned by Wolfgang, she falsely denies the incident, prompting another violent episode added to her growing archive of abuse records. Fast forward to day 2908, Natasha's 18th birthday unfolds with Wolfgang presenting a cake shaped like a number 18 and a dress. Dancing ensues as Wolfgang attempts to teach her, mirroring the initial scene. Working in the garden together, a neighbor witnesses their interaction over the hedge, leading to an awkward exchange. Unlike before, lunch passes without incident, signaling a peculiar shift in their relationship. Assigned to clean the van, Natasha and Wolfgang collaborate. Noting an open gate, she seizes a rare opportunity when Wolfgang, momentarily distracted by a phone call, drops his guard. Escaping, she seeks help from a compassionate neighbor, marking day 3096. The police intervene, liberating Natasha from her torment. Tragically, Wolfgang, unable to face the consequences, takes his own life by lying down in front of a train. Reunited with her parents after years of captivity, Natasha embraces them emotionally. The paparazzi stand ready outside, poised to capture the crucial moment of her triumphant re-entrance into the world. The film concludes with Natasha contemplating the unmistakable truth that only one of them was destined to survive, and it's her, not him.